All right. That one hurts. That one hurts. Let's not sugarcoat anything about it. I'm the Kodiak, and today I'm here to talk about Broncos Chiefs, the lessons we learned about that heartbreaking finish in Arrowhead Stadium earlier today. But before we get into it, I just want to say leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already, drop a comment, and let me know what you think of the game. Let me know your overall thoughts on the organization. And real quick, I just want to say shout out to David Talks Broncos for giving me a shout out and trying to give my channel some juice, because that's something I do not take lightly at all, and I'm really happy that he did that. That was very nice of him to do that. Either way, let's get right into it. So with the Denver Broncos, okay, we just were not opportunistic enough, and I was going to talk about this later, but I'll save it for now. I'm not really sure what happened on the field goal protection. Forsythe, he obviously got blown up. If you've been on Broncos Twitter, if you've been on any Broncos social media, you'll see that Forsythe has currently been the one that people are pointing at and being like, okay, yeah, he did not do a good job on this play. And hey, I don't disagree. That's absolutely inexcusable. You can't have that happening when you have, that big of the stakes, when you have a chance to finally beat the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead for the first time since 2015. But this goes back to the first point I have on my slides. The Mahomes era Chiefs, they don't beat Denver. The Broncos always find a way to lose. If you're thinking about, just the amount of times that we've had them, and, we just can't get out of our own way. And it looks like that kind of translated into today's game again. I think back to the end of 2021 when we could have beat them, and then we had that Javonte Melvin fumble injury. I think back to the end of 2022 where, yes, we had them, but then Russ got hurt, and then Brett Rippon throws an interception. And I think about so many other times that we were this close to beating the Kansas City Chiefs, and we just could not get out of our own way. There'd always be like a fumble or like a really dumb pick six or something like that, and it seems like that has kind of carried over to today. But let's talk about the other things that we were not opportunistic enough at. So Sutton dropping that pass before the end of the half was really bad. I don't really think I have enough room, a lot of room to criticize Sutton for that game, but ultimately that did cost us points. Not even mentioning that he was offside the play before. And then Bonitto not bringing down Mahomes on that 3rd and 13 was also really bad. Once again, a really fantastic game from Bonitto in the entire pass rush, but not bringing down Mahomes on that 3rd and 13 where he kind of ducked and shredded, and it looked like that Nix play against the Chargers from earlier in the year, where he just, goes low and the edge rusher goes too high and ends up finding a dude downfield. Yeah, that might be one of the difference makers in this game. And ultimately, the offense, they stalled out too hard on the first drive of the game and again in the third quarter. But, I mean, they should have won, because honestly, all things considered, I felt like they held up their end of the bargain. But again, it's the little things. It's the little things as to why we did not beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the team not responding well enough after that bad illegal contact penalty. It's the team not responding well enough to, Ben Powers having that really bad hold in the third quarter. And yeah, ultimately, once again, it's the little things. It's, the game is not over against Kansas City until there's zeros on the clock. And once again, you had a chance, you had your chance. But I do want to give a shout out to pretty much everybody in the organization today, because this is a Broncos team that looked ready to go into Kansas City and beat the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, they should have. And this was a good bounce back game for the defense after that atrocity they had a week ago. You have Mahomes and Kelsey on the other side, and obviously they're going to get theirs. Like, they're just going to make some things happen. It's just the way the team works. But, good on them for getting out to a 14-3 lead. You would like to see them protect it. That was kind of a team effort as to why that, lead did not get protected. But Sutton, he also obliterated Trent McDuffie. Like, I mean, I know Trent McDuffie is, like, in one of those, like, best corner in the league conversations that always pops up. And McDuffie just did not have it today. Sutton was absolutely demolishing him. Probably the player I'm proud of the most, even though he had that drop, which probably cost us 3 points at the end of the half. The player I'm most proud of is Courtland Sutton, because honestly, sometimes he has a tendency to disappear. Like, you remember the Saints game earlier in the season, but I'm really proud of how he played today, because you knew that if Nix and the entire offense had a chance to go in and defeat the Kansas City Chiefs, you were going to need a big game from Courtland Sutton. But speaking of our quarterback, Nix wasn't scared of the Arrowhead crowd or the Spagnuolo defense, and the fact that they delivered on the offensive side of the ball really says a lot about the team. So here you go. Bo Nix is the guy. No more questions. No more like, oh, what are they going to do if he's not, working out? How are they going to surround him in the offseason is the new question that people should be talking about, because Bo Nix, he delivered today. And let's start with the critiques you can have on him. It looks like the offense and Nix in general just weren't ready for the all-out blitzes. He made a bad choice on that read option on 2nd and 2 late in the third quarter, which if he just hands that to Estime, it's probably a first down. But instead, we get stuffed for like a 7-yard loss. But yeah, Bo Nix is the truth, because how many guys have you seen? Mahomes has only lost to a rookie quarterback once in his entire career since he started. And how many guys have you seen give their team a chance to win against the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs? And honestly, a team that should have won against the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs. And, there's still things to work on. There are still things to work on. There has been every single week. Like, yeah, it's been kind of an up and down year, and it does tend to be a little streaky at points, but we finally have our young franchise quarterback for the first time in ages. Now we need to be looking ahead to the offseason. Obviously, there's still a lot of football left, but what if I told you that the NFL season is already most of the way done? The NFL regular season is already mostly done. It's kind of hard to believe because it feels like just yesterday was week 1 at Seattle, but we finally have our young franchise QB for the first time in ages, and I cannot be happier. Number 4, all right, it looks like that we are doing a better job of maximizing production out of our skill position guys. I've been very, very critical of our running backs, of our wide receivers, of our tight ends this year, and for good reason. I think everybody else is. I think everybody can say that this is a bona fide bottom 3, bottom 5 group of weapons in the league in general. But there's a few things I want to touch on. Two guys in particular, Audric Estime and Marvin Mims. So in particular, I was really fascinated with the Audric Estime usage because he's our lead back now. And quite frankly, he gives you an element that you thought you were getting with Javonte Williams when you drafted him. Because Estime, he's not dragging guys on his back for 20 yards like rookie Javonte was. But he is he's deceptively shifty, and he's a good counterpunch to the modern NFL where teams try to go too high safety. And, he's big. I think he's 5'11", like 230, I want to say. But he's still very, very shifty, and he's our lead back now. He's our lead back, and I thought that it was an insane amount of trust that we put in Audric Estime. Not insane as in, like, diabolically, mind-numbingly stupid, but it's a very fascinating amount of trust that our coaching staff put into Audric Estime after what he has been through this year, because obviously he had that injury to start the year, but he had fumbled, I believe, 2 or 3 times on a limited sample of carries, so, on a game where you needed to be more conservative than ever, I thought it was ballsy. I thought it was very bold that they went with Audric Estime as the lead back and ended up giving him, I think, around 14 carries or something like that. But he is our lead back now. And speaking of Marvin Mims, I'm really happy that they're trying to use him as a hybrid gadget guy because, think about him as a wide receiver. This is not the same guy that we traded up for in the 2023 draft. This is not even the same guy that we saw flashes of brilliance of, at the beginning of last year where we had that long touchdown against the Commanders. He had that kick return touchdown against the Dolphins. He had that, really long bomb against the Bears that kind of put us in a position to win the game. But a lot of that had gone out the window this year, and it looked like Marvin Mims was going to pretty much be a non-factor in this offense, and he kind of still is a non-factor in this offense, at least until proven otherwise. If they give him like 9 or 10 touches a game, I'm going to be maybe rethinking my position on that. But for a guy who you traded up for and you kind of looked foolish drafting over guys like Tank Dell, guys like Josh Downs, I thought it was very, very nice to see Marvin Mims as a hybrid gadget guy. You could make an argument that as a kick returner, he has been worth the pick. I'm not really sure like how much you consider worth it for an all-pro returner and a guy who's not very good at wide receiver. I'll leave that up to you, but I think the pick is starting to kind of reap the rewards, because he is one of the best special teamers in the sport of football right now, and the ability to give him some limited touches. Okay, he can't run routes, so what can he do? He's really fast and can make guys break down in space, or he can make guys miss tackles in space. So what do? You throw him in the backfield. And honestly, I think that's great. I think it's great using him as like a Debo Light role. Debo Light because Debo is much better at running routes and winning downfield. But like Cordero Patterson, like the McCole Hardman, maybe he's McCole Hardman's cousin and we don't even know. But yeah, I was really happy to see that out of Marvin Mims. Now, Devon Vele, he is a huge, huge, huge quality of life improvement over Lil'Jordan Humphrey. Because I said to my friends earlier today, I was like, okay, I'm going to bet that Lil'Jordan Humphrey in, 3 times out of the past 4 games, on the third play of the game, which was really weird to think about, the fact that it's happened on the third offensive play of the game for the Broncos has been absolutely nuts over the past 2, 3, 4 games or whatever. I was like, okay, Lil'Jordan Humphrey's going to turn it over again. Because why wouldn't he? We're playing against the Chiefs, who have that black magic. But Devon Vele, oh my goodness. Like, this guy is just so much better. This guy is just so much better. And I did see Lil'Jordan Humphrey working hard downfield and blocking or whatever. And we did throw him a screen or two, which is great because he does have a good amount of yak ability. But, yeah, Devon Vele, he is the guy who should be the number 2 behind Sutton going forward. So, Lucas Krull, Adam Trautman, Adkins at tight end. None of those guys are vertical for threats downfield. None of those guys are vertical threats at all. None of those guys are going to strike fear in opposing defenses. But they are very reliable. You give them a crossing route, they are not going to they're not going to drop it. They're not going to blow it up like Greg Dulcich probably would. You give them a tough blocking assignment every now and then. Like sometimes you get caught with them trying to block an edge rusher, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Like when I think Trautman got beat on the right edge today against Chris Jones. But these guys are very reliable dudes, and honestly, I think that's kind of their ceiling for this point because none of those guys are difference makers. But I'm pretty happy with how they've kind of come around this season because the first 4 or 5 weeks of the year, I was like, this might be the worst tight end room ever. And, they, little by little, their involvement on the offense continues. And that's fine. You can give them like 2 or 3 design plays a game. I don't really care. But Krull, Trautman, they both took big catches downfield today. So, yeah, they're very reliable bodies. And Dulcich to China, relegated to the XFL. I still think the Broncos need to rethink their running back or wide receiver approach in general this offseason. I don't remember the running back coach's name, Adeyemi? I don't know. Adeyemi's a soccer player, so that's probably not. I'm forgetting his last name. I forget exactly what it is. But Gary Colbert, he's just not working at wide receiver coach. And, I know that this isn't really the game to be saying something like that. But I still think something needs to change. I still think something needs to change about how they're drafted or in what traits they look for. I still think they need to figure out, what's gone on with their development and why their development of all the guys like Judy, Hamler, Fant, and Mims has been so disappointing, especially the guys they've drafted really early. But they played well today. This is, once again, just kind of nitpicking here. And I don't know. That's kind of just my thoughts on this. So number 5, this is a heartbreaker, no doubt about it, because this would have been your biggest win since Super Bowl 50. And if you beat Kansas City today, your odds to make the playoffs were somewhere around like 75%. Now that you lost them, I don't even know if they're still at 50%. And you know what? This might be a game you look at and you're just like, okay, dang, if only we had better protection on that field goal, then we could have done it. If only we could have, a couple more things could have gone our way, we could have won it. And honestly, I don't think this is going to go away. I think next offseason in like March, April, May, when I'm thinking about the Broncos, they're going to be like, how did we lose that game no matter the outcome of our season, no matter the outcome of Kansas City's season? Because Kansas City, they are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. They should be the favorite to win the Super Bowl. But this was a very, very, very winnable contest. And not only that, I think the thing that sucks is, okay, if Kansas City makes a field goal on the other side, whatever. It was in their hands. But we had a chance. It was in our hands. And that's what makes it so painful. And this team right now, they are massively overperforming. But when will you get another crack to defeat Kansas City like this one? When will you get another chance to beat them when they're 8-0? And I don't know. Here's to hoping that their team holds their head high after this one, because honestly, I feel like most of the team deserves to feel better about this one than the scoreline and the final score and the final result had portrayed itself. Because you'll go on literally every NFL talking point and say, the Broncos, I thought they played like the better team. I honestly did. I thought they delivered more when they needed to, but ultimately, here's to hoping that they can just hold their heads high after this one. So that does it for me. I'll see you guys next time. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And yeah, leave your thoughts and peace out.